Welcome to Antiquated Optics. 3 trends that prove that CDs are making a comeback. This was posted July 6, 2022, written by Davey Furchow. So I was at Discogs. I really like Discogs, CDs, tapes, vinyl, DVDs, Blu-rays, anything and everything music related is on this like virtual music exchange, and it's just great. And pretty much anything you're looking for, somebody's going to have it. And if they don't have it, they can find it. And so I really dig it. And so I went there a couple of days back and I saw this article, gave it a quick read through. And I was like, this is something I should share. Because, I'm a guy, I'm in my 50s. I was born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s. And so 8 tracks, CDs, vinyl, cassettes, Laserdisc. I've been through everything. So, but let's get to 3 trends that prove CDs are indeed making a comeback. Vinyl has made plenty of headlines in recent years, but CDs also have quite a few stories to tell. As the second biggest selling format on Discogs, CDs have continued to be popular choice for collectors in the marketplace. Billboard figures show that CDs recently saw their first sales increase in 17 years. Reputable brands like Marantz offer a high-quality line of CD players as more audiophiles and music fans discover, rediscover, or maintain their passion for CDs. I'm a big CD fan. To this day, I still buy physical formats. Every now and then I'll buy vinyl if it's kind of a quirky little thing. But most of the times I'm buying CDs, or when they press an album and they do it like in a multi-channel mix or PCM mix and it's on like Blu-ray or DVD. But I still love having tangible physical media. The big questions are how and why. How have CDs endured and why are they growing in popularity again? The only way to answer these questions is to break down some Discogs data from the last 5 years and take a look at how artists, fans, and record labels have kept CDs alive. 1. CD releases are consistently added to the Discogs database. Submissions for CD releases have remained incredibly consistent. Contributors have added between 366,000 to 430,000 CD releases to the database each year since 2017. These numbers point to a few different contributing factors. For starters, older releases have been discovered by new fans and rediscovered by longtime collectors. As the demand for CD rises, contributors add older releases to the database. This allows new fans and re-energize collectors to discover classic titles and add them to their collections. And that's important. A lot of popular bands, especially from the 80s and 90s, Metallica, Whitesnake, Megadeth, and go on and on and on, have done remasters and in some cases remixes of their albums. Because much like in the George Lucas mindset, what they originally put down they weren't really happy with. Whitesnake's the worst about it. I love Whitesnake. But like back in the early noughts, they released a special edition of the 87 album and the Slide It In album and the Slip of the Tongue album. And they were just remastered, some bonus tracks, and it was some live tracks. It was cool. Then later on, a few years later, they put out these giant box sets celebrating the 30th anniversary, the 35th anniversary. And they did remix and remasters, and they added a bunch of stuff to it. But then, just this year in 2022, they've put out the greatest hits, remixed, remastered, and even more work has been done. And there's a song called "Fool for Your Lovin'" from the Slip of the Tongue album. And in the second verse, there's this really cool accent with the guitar that Steve Vai adds in, and it's completely eliminated. And the song, I think it's Slide It In. It's definitely one of the John Sykes tracks, but I think it's Slide It In. They found a different solo that he had recorded back in the day, and they replaced the original solo with this new solo. And that's not a bad thing if you own the original album. But if this becomes the de facto version for the future, then new fans and new people coming to the albums are not going to hear what originally made those albums magical. So remasters and remixes are nice, but not at the expense of the original pressings. But we'll continue. The release of brand new albums on CD has also influenced this trend. Artists like Taylor Swift, BTS, and Adele have all released their recent albums on CD. This has opened up the world of CDs to a whole new generation of younger collectors. And like speaking of Adele, Steve Perry, the former lead singer of Journey, they'll even put out exclusives to distributors. Like Target had exclusive versions of their latest albums that had tracks on there that you couldn't get through Amazon or iTunes or anything. And so it really kind of incentivized you to buy this physical media so you could hear something that you typically, well, you couldn't legally hear. I guess you can always sail the seas. But yeah, they would incentivize you to buy this physical media. And Target and Walmart have both been really good with their, hosting vinyl and CDs and continually doing so. CDs listed for sale have increased every year for the last 5 years. Since 2017, the number of CDs listed for sale in the Discogs marketplace has increased steadily each year, resulting in an overall 465% increase. The most dramatic surge was in 2021. However, Discogs has seen the number of CDs for sale increase by over 4.6 million listings in 2022 so far. If the second half of the year mirrors the first, we may see 2021's impressive figure more than double. If the number of CDs submitted to the database continues to remain steady, we can anticipate further increases. And I think that's, I think you're probably seeing an increase because, like guys like me, I'm in my 50s, and I still had this huge collection of CDs, vinyl, cassettes, and my daughter has very little interest. My granddaughter has very little interest. And actually, I'm getting to the point where I'm going to create me a little store on Discogs and start, posting these things. But that's where a lot of it comes. And the thing about it is, owning physical media is important. When I have a Spotify subscription with my wife, and when I first got it, I got it originally to listen to some podcasts, but when I first got it, I made me a kind of a rock and roll playlist to listen to when I'm on my Goldwing. And 2-3 months later, I went in there and not half, that's just too much, that's hyperbole, but a handful of the songs weren't available. So I guess due to licensings or who knows, but like the rock band Kill that was on MCA Gold Mountain Records, all their songs just disappeared. And Halloween, a German power metal band, like most of their albums are available. There's a couple of albums that aren't available. And it was curious because I was thinking, oh, well, maybe it was a different label or something. But no, some of the same albums on the very label they were released on are available. But for whatever reason, like Better Than Raw, not available. So I don't get it. I don't know what's going on, but the thing about it is owning physical media is always available. I can rip it to MP3. I can download it and put it on my phone. I can put in my earbuds, get on my Goldwing, and enjoy an album that's not available legally through the popular streaming services like iTunes, like Amazon, like Spotify. Anyway, we'll continue on. CD sales in the Discogs marketplace have also grown in the last 5 years. Between 2017 and 2021, the number of CDs sold in the Discogs marketplace has increased from 1.9 million to 3.9 million. These 2 million additional CDs account for a 208% increase in just 5 years. One of the main reasons for this substantial jump is affordability. With rising vinyl costs, used CDs have become a cheaper alternative. Music fans are combining CD listings for budget-friendly copies of the albums they love most. And that's just it. They're every now and then, like, let's see. One of the things I really like, I bought the double vinyl just because of a kitschy thing for a Paradise Lost live album they did with the Symphony, and it came with a DVD, so I could actually watch it. Arch Enemy, they did the same thing with their As the Stages Burns double live album. And another band, Volunfire, Ray Alder, Fate's Warning, they'll put out albums and they'll actually just put a CD with the vinyl. So that's nice. I mean, that's nice. But vinyl, if you're just buying the vinyl, they get a little crazy with the prices sometimes. One of the things that stuck out to me was actually The Force Awakens, the first Walt Disney Star Wars film. The soundtrack came out on vinyl, a double vinyl, and it cost $50. Now, granted, apparently, now I hadn't seen this. Well, I've seen a video of it, but I hadn't seen it physically. Apparently, if you pop the vinyl on your turntable, it looks like there's this little hologram type thing, and it looks like there's a spaceship flying around in circles. So that's kind of cool, I guess. But $50 for a double album, absolutely insane. Makes no sense, especially when I went and bought the same album on CD from Target for like, I don't know, 12, 13 bucks. And it's on a media format that will never degrade. That's one thing about cassettes and vinyl, and it's just going to happen over time. Every time you play it, it loses a little something. You can take care of it and you can keep them, you try to do the best you can, but it loses a little something. You know, it loses a little fidelity, I guess. And granted, it probably, unless you just play it all the time, it probably won't be anything you see in your lifetime. But unlike CDs, they do degrade. There was obviously a CD degradation problem in the late 90s, early noughts, but that has since been rectified. But we'll continue on. Much like the recent tape resurgence, which I don't understand, there are quite a few Gen Z music collectors that are interested in the format. Gen X and millennial parents are passing on their CD collections or regaling their Gen Z children with nostalgic tales of the convenience of compact discs. The size and simplicity of CD speaks to those on the go or anyone who prefers a pop in a disc and not worry about flipping a record or dropping a needle. That was one of the great things in the 90s with CDs is you could get, if you spent the money and bought a really nice portable CD player, you could pop that CD in the portable CD player, listen to your headphones, and cassettes still seem to be the way to go on that, because especially if you made a cassette, especially if you bought a blank cassette and just transferred it that way. Carrying out a CD, there was always the chance you could drop it or something and nick it, and next thing you know, you've got whereas like on a vinyl album, you have a pop or you have a scratch. On a CD, you can actually have a nick, and sometimes it won't play or sometimes it'll get stuck. So cassettes were still the way to go when you were on the go, obviously until MP3s came around, which I started seeing those, I guess, around 2000, 2001, and it's just crazy. Many audiophiles continue to build their CD collections due to their rich sound quality. A lot of vinyl reissues have been pulled from digital sources instead of the original analog masters. As the last prominent physical format before streaming arrived on the scene, mini CDs offer a unique hi-fi listening experience. That's another thing too, is albums that were recorded digitally being pressed to vinyl. Now, if it doesn't matter to you, fine. Though it doesn't make much sense. If you recorded analog and you put it on an analog format, that's fine. But if you recorded an album completely digitally and then put it on vinyl, it truly is going to sound better on CD. Digital to digital. I mean, this is the way it is. Let's see. I'm thinking of the band Device back from the mid 80s, not the David Drummond solo band, but a band Device. It was basically an outing by a songwriter named Holly Knight, and they put out an album called 22B3. And I'll tell you straight up, I bought the vinyl, bought the 12-inch single back in the day on vinyl. I put it to cassette. I used to listen to it all the time. And then when CDs became more prominent and they were pressing older releases to CD, and at this time they weren't like remastering or anything for CD. They were just taking the analog recording and just pressing it, like the recording they used to press vinyl, they would just put that on CD. No remastering, no anything. And they did that with 22B3. And I bought the CD, of course, because I was like, yeah, CD, awesome, great. And then I popped it in, and for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, it just didn't sound right. It didn't sound right. So I literally, once the technology was there, I transferred the vinyl to MP3s because the vinyl still sounded better to me. Now, that is one of the great things about remasters, is pressing analog to CDs. Sometimes it loses something, most of the time it doesn't. But in some cases, there's just an you're sticking an old recording on a new format, and it doesn't go. But the remasters, and for instance, one of the things that actually comes to mind is Anthrax's Among the Living, is once they remastered that, because it was originally mastered for vinyl. So it wasn't, it was mastered for a certain sound, a certain quality, a certain resonance. Once they remastered Among the Living for the digital age, night and day. No remixing, just the album remastered, not just boosted in sound, but remastered. And it sounds so good digitally. But I will still pop on the vinyl because it lives in my head. That vinyl sound lives in my head. We'll continue on. The current delays in vinyl manufacturing have also inspired artists and fans to embrace the CD format. CDs can be produced quickly and inexpensively, so no matter how you spin it, we can expect to see more CDs manufactured and sold in the marketplace. Halfway through 2022, Discogs has already seen close to 2 million CD sales in the marketplace. And that is a wonderful thing. When CDs first started becoming prominent in the early 90s, I remember when Painkiller came out, the Judas Priest album, the last album they put out before the big breakup, the vinyl was like $8.98. The cassette was like $8.98 or $7.98. And the CD was like, no kidding, it was like $15, $16. The first CD I ever bought came in one of those plastic long boxes. You had the cardboard long boxes that looked like the Albert Martin stuff, but other companies would put them in these kind of plastic blister packs. And the first one I ever bought came that way, and it was The Best of Warlord on Metal Blade Records. And that thing cost me $18 and change for a CD. Absolutely crazy to think about now. Like 18 bucks and change for a CD. But I could have bought the vinyl for like 11. I think $12 or $11. 11 or $10, something like that. But yeah, I wanted the CD because I love Warlord, and I was like, oh yeah, best of, let's do this, But it's crazy how things change. And really the price is kind of based on what the market wants. And that's just the way it is. I believe that retailers and manufacturers got greedy when vinyl showed a resurgence, and we can thank the hipsters for vinyl, coming back. I mean, they love vinyl. They wanted to hear old vinyl releases, and, white guys listen to Miles Davis. It's just the way it is. But they are responsible for the renewed interest in vinyl, which really is the catalyst for a renewed interest in physical media. And physical media is a wonderful thing. I think I stated this before. When I'm on my Goldwing or I'm at work or I'm doing something out of the house, I will typically stream something if I can. I'll listen to MP3 if it's not available streaming, but when I'm streaming, whatever pennies will be given to the artist that I'm listening to, and I typically don't listen to popular music, so most of the artists I listen to really need the pennies. I'll listen to them. But at home, I want to pop in a CD. At home, I want to drop the needle. And when it comes to my old cassettes, because some of my cassettes have not seen any life on CD, and I have transferred those cassettes to CD, so I'll pop in a blank CD and listen to the cassette, because when I recorded that cassette to CD, that was the best it was ever going to sound, because, as I stated before, CDs eventually degrade. I don't get going back to vinyl, and I really don't understand cassettes. Because to me, like, I was there when we went from 8-track to, because vinyl has been around first, obviously, but we went from vinyl to 8-track, and 8-track had this nightmarish thing where they would fade out a song and then fade in the song on the next track. But then when cassettes came along, it's like, great. But the only thing about cassettes that was so great is that it was portable. I mean, that was the wonderful thing about it. And then when CDs came around, you had high quality and portability, and that was wonderful. Going back to vinyl from CDs, to me, is like going from Blu-ray back to DVD. And then going to cassette is like going from Blu-ray to freaking VHS. Makes no sense. But to each his own. I could see buying a cassette, like a record store day or cassette or something that I was just going to set up and put somewhere. And to be fair, if it comes with like a digital download, then what are you losing, right? You just kind of put it up and you listen to the digital download anyway. But I'm really happy as a guy who loves physical media to see the return of physical media and embracing physical media. And one day, hopefully, it's a wish, because it's something I used to enjoy doing when I was a kid and when I was a teenager. Maybe we'll actually see real live record stores. Wouldn't that be cool? Not going to Target, not going to Walmart, not going to Best Buy. There are some mom and pop record stores that are really wonderful all throughout this country, and we really need more of them. But I really would like to see people browsing the marketplace again, browsing brick and mortar record stores, because they were the best. You discovered music, you met up with your friends, you talked, and if you went to a cool record store, they just weren't playing the cassette that was sent in by corporate, and they just weren't playing music that was popular. They were playing, like when I worked at Musicland, it was great because I listened to the hard rock music. We couldn't listen, if I worked during the day, we couldn't listen to it. But as it got later at night, then I could listen to really hard rock stuff that might upset the customers, like, God forbid, Dokken or Twisted Sister. I mean, that's just the world that we lived in at the time. But anyway, thanks for listening to an old guy ramble on about, old media and stuff. And I hope you dug the video, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Later.